you, Andrew. Everybody, a round of applause. Andrew did great. This is our first satellite download uplink to another room in this building to accommodate an overflowing crowd, so that's great. It's a blessing. So we're here for the right reasons, and we're getting the right people. All set? We're live? Fabulous. So I am Dr. Brett Spradlin. This is Divine Design Natural Health, and we are going to embark on a little journey where we're going to talk about how to cancer-proof your life. This is going to be stuff that you're probably not going to hear at the oncology center. You're probably not going to hear it at your family doctor. You're probably not going to hear it at the gastroenterologist's office. But we're going to just tell you the truth. And you know what? The truth isn't always popular, and the truth isn't always accepted right away, but it always is accepted eventually. How do I know? Well, I study with some of the top doctors on this planet, the top doctors who don't do drugs and don't give surgeries. Drugs and surgeries should always be a last resort. And when I study with some of these top doctors and I go and I hear them at seminars, I was at a 4-day seminar this last weekend. I go and I hear them talk and I see what's going on in the world and I see how they're treating patients and I study with these guys and I go and I do and I spend time, money, and energy to travel this continent and figure out how can I help the most people? And how can I bring it back to this tiny little town that God moved me to called Cleveland, Tennessee? Well, you'd be doing a lot better if you was over in Chattanooga with all them hippies. Yeah, I probably would be. The hippies love me. I probably would be. But you know what? This is where God told me to go. This is where he said to be. So I have to be here. And it will all come when it needs to come. Who cares? So when I go and I listen to these guys, these are some of the things they put out. And just so that you know that it's not just some kid standing up here spitting a bunch of opinions, I will show you these 3 things, and you will know, because probably most of you have heard of them, exactly what I'm saying is not just opinion, it's fact. You're never going to hear me talk opinion. I have very little time in this world to talk opinions, because I really don't care about anybody's opinion. Not to be rude or crass, but really you shouldn't care about my opinion either. If you want opinions, watch the news. Read the newspaper, read the editorials. Who in the medical field, who in law enforcement has time for somebody's opinion? We go by facts. We go by truth. We go by what can be proven, what can be substantiated, and what is provable. I don't care about somebody's opinion. I might want to ask you, well, what do you think about the weather today? But really, does that matter? No. The fact of the matter is, all of these guys how many of you know about the truth about cancer? Ty Bollinger, anyone? Raise your hand if you've heard of this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is that it? So 5 people in this room have heard of the truth about cancer. I encourage you, this was a documentary series that was put out in 2014. This was 4 years ago. It's ridiculous that it took this long. But the truth about cancer, this is 7 video episodes. I will read to you some of the stuff. This was 2014. The only reason I even knew about it was because I followed some of the doctors that were in it years before. So when they got interviewed for this, I got some emails that said, hey, I'm going to be in this new documentary. Well, this documentary went global. This documentary blew up because finally you've got 30 or 40 top doctors on the planet, MDs, chiropractors like me, nutritionists, acupuncturists, DOs, occupational therapists, physical therapists, you name it, talking about naturally beating cancer. Now, some of these people changed their diet and completely got healed. Other people had to go less traditional routes, like hyperbaric oxygen or vitamin C intravenous therapy or digital thermography or something. But the proof is in the pudding. The quest for the cures, there's episode 1, the cancer pandemic. Why is cancer so crazy? Why is it that 1 in 2 Americans is projected to have cancer within the next 15 years? 12 years. What is this, 2018? Yeah, by 2030. 1 in 2 Americans. So look to your left, look to your right. One of you is supposed to have cancer within the next 12 years. How do they know? They run the numbers. The CDC runs the numbers. So how can they tell that? You know how they tell that? By the number of toxic chemicals that are being introduced into the food supply and into the air supply and into the water supply every year. That's how they're able to project those numbers. How else are they going to figure it out? Just by genetics? Well, that's what you're being told. So the frankenfoods and cancer causers, are you immune? Basically dealing with your immune system. You know, if your immune system is up here, you can't get cancer. How many of you know that? So many of us have been taught that cancer is just this alien mothership that falls out of the sky and lands on you, and it comes out of nowhere. Oh, he was perfectly healthy, and then he went to the doctor and he was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer. How many of you have heard that? But he had no other symptoms leading up to it. He had no other symptoms. He was perfectly healthy. Or was he on drugs that masked the symptoms that would have clued him into having something wrong in his body? So you have to ask these questions. You have to think this way, and you have to go, how could he be perfectly healthy and then just have a massive watermelon-sized tumor in his chest that nobody else knew about? You hear this all the time. Am I right? All these episodes. What would doctors do? So if you were, hey, top doctor, medical doctor who's an oncologist, well, if you got cancer, what would you do? Would you do chemotherapy? What do you think their answer is? Hey, top doctor who's a radiologist who cures cancer with all these other methods and blah, blah, blah. Well, if you got cancer, what would you do? Well, I wouldn't be doing radiology. You know, what would the doctors do? So how to survive and thrive. What if you do get diagnosed? That's the series that came out in 2014. If you don't know about that, I highly recommend you go to YouTube, type in Truth About Cancer, and just watch at least probably the first episode is still out there. Thing was so successful, they put out another one called The Truth About Cancer, The Quest for the Cures Continues. This one was put out in 2014. The copyright was 2014, but I believe it came out about a year or two later. Some of the episodes include Modern Medicine and the Cancer Pandemic, Your First Line of Defense, Eliminate These Dirty Dozen to Prevent Cancer. If any have come to my food classes where we talk about what to eat, there's the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15. The Dirty Dozen are like the top 12 things that are totally pesticide-laden, full of chemicals, genetically modified frankenfoods. But then you got the Clean 15 that are kind of like the buzzwords as far as, good, clean foods to eat. Your Secret Fountain of Youth, Nature's Pharmacy, Clean Foods, Cancer-Free Diet. I mean, it just goes on and on. Diagnostic Do's and Don'ts, Proven Treatment Protocols, Part 1, Part 2, Part 3, and Doctor's Orders. Those are just some of the episodes. That thing was so successful that they put out another one in 2015. Global Quest, complete documentary series. This is The Truth About Cancer. You know what happened here? Some people got together and said, hey, I had this go down with my family, and this and this and this happened, and it made me look into stuff. And some other people got together with them and said, I had the same thing go down with my family. And guess what I found out? They put a documentary series together, interviewed the top doctors on the planet, and now they've got 3 of them. There's a 4th one in production right now, and this is just cancer. What are they doing with autoimmune diseases? Same thing. Autoimmune diseases like what? Multiple sclerosis, diabetes. You ever heard of that one? How about ALS? How about, rheumatoid arthritis? All the autoimmune diseases. How about thyroid problems? Hashimoto's, thyroiditis. All these autoimmune diseases, guess what? Cancer happens when your immune system goes down. Autoimmune diseases happen when your immune system goes way up out of control. So how many of you think there's going to be more documentary series coming out about the truth about fill in the blank? Okay? That's what this is all about. So some of these, I won't even go into the episode, the titles, but just so that you know that this thing is the real deal and that there's plenty of information out there for you to find, all you need to go, and I follow these guys, they're great. Truth About Cancer, Ty Bollinger, boom, it's right there. So you know that we're not just blowing a bunch of smoke and talking a bunch of opinions. There is a global awakening happening, folks. There are a lot of people coming out of the dark on this thing, coming out of and just saying, wait a minute, I went to the hospital, I got 6 different stories from 12 different people. I didn't understand any of it. They took out the offending organ, or they did the surgery, and my loved ones came out and still had the problem. So now we've got medical bills, we're minus an organ, and we still got the problem we went in with. It's a wreck. It's happened to my family, it's happened to my grandparents, it's happened to my parents, it's happened to everybody. Let's just admit it, So I say that all to say this. I know that there are people in here from the healthcare field, and God bless emergency rooms and people who've studied to do what they're doing, but there is a severe lapse in judgment in a lot of places that are giving healthcare, medical care right now. So there's emergency medical care, shark bites and bullet wounds and car accidents, but then there's the other 99% of what happens, because how many of you know, like emergency care you don't have to go to the emergency room every single day. Do you? And a good chunk of the people who go to the emergency rooms didn't actually need to go to the emergency room. They went there because they wanted to get something done right now. But they put it off until it became an emergency, a lot of times. Or they go to the emergency room and they didn't really need to be there. So I say all that just to say I have friends and family who are in that realm. So I'm not trying to disrespect anybody, but at some point you have to come to the realization and go, something's not working. all the education and all the initials after your name and all of the drugs and all of the surgeries and all of the vaccines we have available to us are not working. They're not. If vaccines and drugs and surgery worked, anyone in America would live forever, they'd never get sick, and they'd be intellectually superior to the rest of the planet. Because in America, the average American over 50 years old is on average, 15 meds. On average. That means you've got some people over 50 who are on 2, and you've got some people over 50 who are on 30 or more. There's something wrong with this. Now think about this. Never once have we known a medication, if I'm wrong, somebody raise your hand. Never once have we known one single medication to cure a disease. In the history of medications, 120, 150 years, we've never known one medication to cure a disease. If anybody knows of a medication that cures a disease, please raise your hand and tell me what it is. And I'll give you the rest of your life to find a medication that cures a disease. Send me an email, call me on the phone, come to this office, and let me know if you find a medication that's ever cured a disease. Okay, now that we've covered that, we've got 15 of these, which are all toxic pharmaceutical poisons to the human body that are dead, inert chemical substances. They're not alive, living chemicals. These are not plant and animal compounds pulled from the dust of the earth that is the same compound that you were pulled from. These are dead, inert chemical poisons that must be detoxified by your liver in order for you to live. If you exceed that detoxification threshold of your liver, it's something called an overdose. That's what a medication taken in excess will do. You can do it with aspirin, you can do it with metformin, you can do it with Vicodin, you can do it with Percocet, you can do it with heroin, you can do it with fentanyl, whatever. When you surpass that overdose threshold, you will die. So that's why a dosage for you would be very different than a dosage for an 8-year-old weighing 100 pounds or 80 pounds, because it's all based upon the size or the detoxification threshold of your liver. Does that make sense? So not only we've got somebody over 50 years old, they're on 15 meds, now we've got this med that has a list of side effects this long. We've got this med that has a list of side effects this long. We've got this med over here that's got a list of side effects that's way longer. Are you tracking with me? So we got 15 meds. None of these side effects could ever be like that. You would never know. The next problem they have, you would never know where it came from. Here come the reds and blues pulling up to the nursing home saying, well, we've got a heart condition going on. We're going to have to, their heart's going crazy, so now we're going to have to take them to the cardiac lab. We're going to have to run an EKG. We're going to have to do blood panel. We're going to have to figure out, we're going to have to give them a chest x-ray. We're going to have to do standard operating procedure for a chest delivery at their emergency room, right? But half the time, if you looked at the side effects here, guess what it's going to say? Heart palpitations, arrhythmias, cardiac events, right? Thrombotic occlusions, which is a key word for, or myocardial infarctions, which is a long word for what? Right. They're written in the side effects. They're recorded there for a reason, because it somehow happened somewhere. So what I'm trying to say is you got 15 medications that you will never understand the implications of all those medications going together. Ever. No computer created could figure that out. No doctor in a white coat with 12 degrees after his name could figure that out. Based upon that person's work history, their stress level, their genetics, the food they ate, how many kids they've had, how many organs are missing, how many drugs they're on, how much sleep they got that day. All the factors that go into that 50-year-old's life mixed with the 15 meds and the 300 side effects that each one of those meds has, who is going to figure that out? Nobody. And you know what? The cemeteries are growing. The nursing homes are growing. The oncology centers are growing. The kids' hospitals for kids with cancer are growing, right? So does this all make sense? It's crazy. So I want to cover a few things with you. Pull out this right here, this little sheet. If you don't have it, just follow along. We go through this pretty much regularly. Like I said, this is going to be challenging. Now, I wanted to be done by 7 o'clock. I apologize. That's not going to happen. Okay? But if any of you have to go, you can dismiss yourselves because probably some of you have a turkey in the oven or something at home. I understand that. But I was going to go till 7, but we ran into overflow emergency mode, and so we're going to go a little bit longer, probably 7:15ish, and then we'll have a time for questions, testimonies. Okay? We usually go 6 to 7, so we're going to go a little bit longer just to make up for the time. Okay, if you pull this out, this is written by Nancy Appleton. You can read her books. You can go online. She's a PhD. She understands a lot about sugar. So she wrote this little thing called 146 Reasons Why Sugar is Ruining Your Health. I refer back to this constantly because there's no better explanation of this. This is all peer-reviewed journal, white paper, clinical research stuff that she's documented as a PhD studying nutrition, okay? Now, I'm not saying that you have to be or have a PhD to understand nutrition, but this is just very interesting. I'm going to put here, at the top of this little pyramid, every disease can be broken down like this. It's so simple. Oh, it's so simple. You don't have to name it and stage it and grade it and cut a piece out and look under a microscope and EKGs and CAT scans and blood work and all this craziness. You can, if you want to spend all of your time and all of your money and all of your energy trying to figure out what to call this thing. But guess what? If you could take all that money and energy into fixing your body, getting the nutrition and the care and the detoxification and everything that your body needs to heal, how about if we do that rather than spending a bunch of money on naming it and staging it and taking a picture of it? Crazy, huh? Is naming it and staging it and grading it going to change how you treat that disease? 9 times out of 10, no. Because you're going to get the same drug. Am I wrong? Exactly. So over here, we're going to say organ dysfunction. I'm just going to abbreviate for the sake of time. And over here, we're going to say nutritional deficiency. Okay? Wow, that was horrible. Sorry. Organ dysfunction, nutritional deficiency, right here. You can put whatever disease you want. You can put rheumatoid arthritis. You can put Alzheimer's. You can put diabetes. You can put whatever you want right here. One or the other is going to cause that disease. One or the other is going to, in conjunction with, cause that disease. If you have, let's say you have pancreatic cancer. Think Steve Jobs, think Michael Landon, think Patrick Swayze. Pancreatic cancer, bad, bad, bad. Okay? All the money in the world ain't going to save you. Okay? Think pancreatic cancer. What is the organ dysfunction? Can be, yeah. But then what's the nutritional deficiency? Or is there one? Is not cancer the new name for an old disease called, and I'll write it up here so y'all can see it. You may remember this from your old textbooks. Cancer had an old name called, does anyone remember that? Does no one remember that word? What is cachexia? What is that? The old name for cancer. What does that mean? Who said that? Yep, pretty much. It used to be called, just like PTSD used to be called shell shock. We make up new names for it every once in a while when people learn, just like when people figure out what aspartame really is, we just rename it. PTSD used to be called battle fatigue. Before that, it was shell shock, right? Remember that. Now we got a whole new name for it. It's called PTSD, so we can drug people. Shell shock, you can't drug them. Post-traumatic stress disorder labels a psychiatric disorder, just like attention deficit disorder, just like you shop too much disorder, just like you like to clean stuff, so we call you obsessively compulsive. So if you're called a disorder, now we have a reason to drug you. Okay? So cachexia was also called the wasting away disease. Yeah, I think cachexia, actually, the word, I think that actually means wasting away. How many of you have ever walked into a cancer ward? Or have you ever been around anybody dying of cancer? What do they smell like? It smells like death, doesn't it? Why? They're decaying away. Why? Their immune system's gone, So the cancer is eating all of their nutrition. No one ever dies of cancer. No one ever dies of cancer. I hear it all day, every day. My grandma died of cancer. She had diabetes, and then the cancer killed her. Diabetes. I don't mean to make fun of that, but that's just the way. That's the way we say it in Tennessee. Diabetes. Nobody ever dies of cancer. Sugar. Oh, the sugar. The sugar got me. Yeah, the sugar killed her. The sugar? The sugar. Is that what it is in Tennessee? Well, I learned something new. Thank you. That was awesome. The sugar. The sugar. We'll do that one in a minute. So cachexia is called the wasting away disease. Why? Because the cancer eats their nutrition. That's why they waste away. That's why the cancer didn't kill them. The nutritional deficiency did. The only way you could really say that is, if they had a tumor pressing on their carotid artery and they couldn't get blood to their brain, okay. But where did the cancer come from? Cancer comes from two things. The cause, how many of you think that they're ever going to find a cure for cancer? Oh, I see some questions. Oh, some of you want to raise your hand, but you just don't know.
No, it's big business.
Well, but what would the cure be? Here's why they'll never find it. What would the cure be for cancer? If they're searching for a cure, Susan G. Komen, American Cancer Society, all these foundations, if they're looking for a cure, what's the cure gonna be?
They would make it a drug because
Yeah. No. It would have to be a drug. In their minds, it has to be expensive. It would have to be a drug in their minds. I'm not saying reality. I'm saying if they're doing research on finding a cure for cancer, you bet your bottom dollar that it's going to be a drug or a vaccine, which is a drug. Does that make sense?
Wouldn't it be somehow taken away its ability to get nutrients?
By what means? That could work, but how are they going to do it?
Well, not them.
I'm saying, if they're looking for a cure,
If they're looking for
how would they do it? Would it be by a drug? Or would it be by a vaccine or some...
They've always done it.
How they've always done it.
they would do it how they've always done it.
Which is how?
Stupid.
A drug. Stupidly. I like her answer better.
it wouldn't be a cure though.
Huh?
It wouldn't really cure it though.
It wouldn't cure it.
There's
No.
nothing going to cure
Exactly.
cancer in their mind.
Exactly. So if you understand what causes something, wouldn't that make sense on how to fix it?
Yeah, you pull up the root.
Yeah. If you know what causes something, that's why when people say, I have fibromyalgia, the doctors say, well, take this drug or take this drug. You decide. Well, I didn't go to med school. Which one am I supposed to take? That's happened to people in this room, for crying out loud. I know it. Fibromyalgia syndrome means that you don't know what causes the fibromyalgia because that little syndrome word at the end of it tells us something. It tells us you don't know what caused it. So if you don't know what caused it, how are you going to fix it? Well, with this drug. Well, but you don't know what caused it. Well, but take this drug. Well, but you don't know what caused it. This doesn't make sense. It's like going to a mechanic. I know this. It's like going to a mechanic and saying, well, my brakes are squeaking. Well, it's the fuel pump. Yeah, but my brakes are squeaking. It's the fuel pump. My brakes are squeaking. It's always the fuel pump. How many of you would think they're nuts? It's the same thing. So if they were to find something, it would always be a drug. It would always be some kind of crazy chemical concoction, or it would be an imaging, a way of targeting something to shut something down, which would then damage something in the human body further down the pipeline. Right? So there will never be the cure. Not because it's too big of money and too big. It's because the cure, they're looking up here, and the cure is right under your nose. What is it? The cure, you want to know the cure?
Sugar refiners.
The cure is the same thing as... That's it. Isn't it? If you know the cause, that is the cure. And what are the causes of cancer? Well, two things. This one and this one. See how this works? Right? Nutritional deficiency over here, you can even boil this down a little bit further. And you can say, well, it's too much bad stuff or it's not enough good stuff. Either way, you got a nutritional deficiency. Okay? So that's how we break that down. Cachexia, ancient word, wasting away. Cancer, eating up their stuff. So they're rotting from the inside out. And you all know two of the causes for cancer. We know what causes organs to dysfunction. Two things, right? And I've explained this so many times, it's crazy. Well, if you go to a dentist and you get your head x-rayed, what do they put across the rest of your organs so you don't get lead? But so what is the cause? What are they trying to protect you from? So they know that radiation causes cancer. Correct. We all know that, right? If you sat next to a cell phone tower, chances of you getting cancer go up or go down? Everybody knows that. Everybody knows that. If you are a TSA agent sitting there at the little backscatter machines where people are like this and they spin around and shooting radiation 1,000 miles an hour, do your chances go up or go down that you will come down with cancer? Up or down? Up. Everybody knows. What's another thing that causes cancer? Everybody knows this. If I wash my hands with bleach, and if I'm pounding shots of Drano all day, will my chances of getting cancer go up or down?
Probably die.
Well, yeah. But at least I won't have cancer. So if I'm putting chemicals, if I'm spraying my thyroid with all kinds of crazy stuff, so chemicals, right? Well, what happens in America where you get diagnosed with cancer, you have two options. Well, you have three, actually. But two of the options are going to be, we're going to radiate it, which we know causes cancer, or we're going to give you, which is actually chemical therapy. That's where the word comes from. Chemotherapy is chemical therapy, drugs. And if
Isn't there a third option?
Surgery.
I don't know if that.
Surgery is your only other option. There's other options too, which will combine all three, and they'll tell you it's a brand new treatment for cancer. I've seen those too.
Doesn't cancer have something like, you can treat it with like high doses of oxygen or something?
I'm talking about traditional medicine. Yes, you're talking about ozone therapy,
Oh, okay.
but I'm talking traditional medicine. Does everybody get this?
Proton therapy, they have that now too.
They do. Yep.
The proton is,
What's that going to do?
I have no clue what it is.
See?
I heard this commercial.
I know. So let's just pull this out real quick. I'm going to show you how this all goes together. I kind of got off track here. But if you pull this out, I'm just going to read this. Just number one. So 146 reasons why sugar is ruining your health. This is why you will not see this at your oncology center. This is why the children's hospitals, for just for kids with cancer, St. Jude's hospitals and all stuff, I'm not griping at you guys. If you want to give your money, to these places and stuff, I'm sure some good stuff happens to it. But don't think for a minute that really that they're going to find a cure with your money. Okay? Don't be deceived. American Cancer Society, I could tell you stories. There's a reason. The Susan G. Komen, there's a reason why we're 50 or 60 years from when Nixon first said we're going to conquer cancer, right before JFK said we're going to go to the moon. Which one happened first? Well, the moon thing, we'll talk about that later. But hey, 60 years later, yeah, I'm not going to go there. But at least JFK had the cojones to say it, right? So 60 years later, here we are, and we are no closer to finding a cure for cancer than Batman, okay? It's unbelievable. Number one, sugar can suppress the immune system. Like I already said, if your immune system hits the toilet, guess what? What do you have? What do you have increased chance for? Cancer. Number one. Let's see, number 51. Sugar can impair the structure of DNA, which is another way of saying you got what? Exactly. Number 72. Sugar plays a role in pancreatic cancer in women. Crazy. Number 76. Sugar increases the risk of gastric cancer, which is cancer of the stomach. Number 91. High sugar diet can lead to biliary tract cancer. That's cancer of the gallbladder, liver, biliary tract cancer. Number 99. Sugar can be a risk factor of gallbladder cancer, right? Number 120. Sugar can lead to prostate cancer. How many of you men have ever heard that? You know the little mints they have on your urologist's counter right before you leave? Number 128, sugar may cause laryngeal cancer, cancer of the throat. Number 137, sugar can increase the risk of stomach cancer. Number 143, 44, 45, and 46. Sugar can affect cancer of the rectum, Sugar can cause endometrial cancer. How many of you women have heard that? With endometriosis, fibrotic cysts, ovarian problems, all this stuff. How many of you know? Sugar can help that just get out of control, right? Number 145, sugar can cause renal or kidney cell carcinoma. Carcinoma, that's a word for cancer, right? 146, sugar can cause liver tumors. Tumor is another word for what? Cancer. So there's a million different ways to say this, but when you really boil it down, when we know that all of this stuff can be caused by sugar, which is a big old nutritional deficiency, because sugar is a toxin to the human body, which then causes the good stuff to go down, it's a double whammy, because we're causing organ dysfunction and we're ingesting a nutritional deficiency every day, and then it's leading to this. Crazy, huh? But take it one step further. You go to the hospital, you get diagnosed with cancer, what are they going to feed you? How many of you know this? And who's going to pay for that? You are. Or your insurance. Right? What else? Then they're going to bring you a big slice of white cake made of what? Then they're going to have you eat. How many of you know this? I mean, come on. You've all had friends and family go to the hospital and they bring you the stuff, and well, you got to eat something. Doesn't matter. Somebody told me today, the doctor went to the specialist, and I don't even remember who this was. If this was you, I'm not saying any names, but it was a gastroenterologist, and there was this very serious thing going on, and the gastroenterologist, the patient asked the gastroenterologist, what should we eat? And the gastroenterologist says, almost, practically, say it right there. Anything you want. We've all heard it. Eat anything you want. How many of you you've had loved ones in the hospital and they're dying and they're wasting away, and then the nurse comes by and says, "Oh, honey, you just need to eat something. You got eat anything just to get some weight on you. Just to eat some Jell-O, eat some.
Here's a milkshake.
Here's a milkshake. Here's an Ensure. And the Ensure is chock full of, and a bunch of synthetic nutraceuticals made by who? Pharmaceutical companies. You can't make this up. Is this somebody's opinion? No. It's just observation and truth of just simple human physiology. Because you can either go to school and spend a bunch of time studying pathology and learning how to name it and stage it and grade it, like I almost did, or you can go to school and study physiology, which tells you how the human body actually works. The only difference between MDs and myself and DCs is, my friends, I've got friends who are MDs, friends who are DOs, tons of friends who are DCs, obviously. The only difference is we don't spend our time learning pharmacology. We spend a lot of time learning anatomy and physiology, which makes a heck of a lot more sense. If you study disease, you will always find disease. If you study health, you will always find health. I chose early on to study health. I'd rather not spend my days and my weeks and my months and my years studying which type of cancer named after some dead guy eats up the cells in a certain way where it causes this metabolite, and then we can name it this, stage it that, and feed it this, and water it that, and call it George. I don't want to do that. I just don't want to do that. So that being said, I'm just going to read you some statistics right here. And then we'll take some time to talk about, if any of you have testimonies, or I see a lot of patients here, a lot of non-patients, people who are new. But if any of you are, I want to put this out there, if any of you are current patients or have been patients or were patients, and you have a short little 2 or 3 minute testimonial that you'd like to share, I will let you come up here and hop on that camera and tell the whole class and tell all of Facebook, if you'd like, just a couple things, just so that the people who are here, who have absolutely no idea who I am or what we do or any of this stuff, will understand the power of what's going on here. Okay, so I'm just going to read you a few little stats here. 40 to 50% of the U.S. will have cancer in the next 20 years. These are stats that I took late 2015. Okay, that's 130 million people. If you talk about 40 to 50% of the U.S., that's a lot of people. Who stands to profit from that? Correct. 2 out of 5 people you know, so that's basically half your social circle, going to have cancer. The major media outlets, the channels, the papers, the magazines, the websites will not say any of what I've just told you. Any of it. And, there's a lot of people out there who are under a lot of pressure to not say this stuff. But when some of the top doctors in the world get together and start making a dent in some of this, and then people like you get a hold of it, and you go out there and you tell your friends and your family and your churches and your communities and your neighborhoods, hey, there might be a better way to do some of this, and it's going to save you a bunch of money, and you might live 5 years longer than you would doing the 10 years, 15, 20. You might not have to go to the nursing home when you're 55. Let's try 85 or 90, like normal. If we change your water, change your food, tell you to get rid of some of the stuff that's making you sick, guess what? You will have no choice but to get better. No choice. It's easy. I do have to tell this story. I was on a flight not long ago. How many of you know what month is, you all know this, Breast Cancer Awareness Month is when? Everybody knows this. All the linebackers in the NFL, everybody's wearing pink shoes. Everybody's wearing pink jerseys. Everywhere you go, there's pink ribbon, right? So I got on a plane, and there's a screen about 6 inches in front of my face, spitting out, cancer-causing radiation, of course. And the flight attendants are all wearing pink, and on top of that, they're wearing little pink lapel pins. The pilots are wearing pink ties. There's people in the airport wearing pink vests. Guests and people who are on the planes, everybody's wearing pink. There's pink bags. I mean, there's pink just everywhere. And I'm thinking, what would it be? Breast cancer is this big of a deal, And I'm not minimizing anyone who's ever had breast cancer or anything like that. But what I am saying is this. What about diabetes? What about war? What about the things that have killed millions of people throughout the course of human history? Breast cancer is majorly an American thing, and it's a month in the year that seems to be perpetuated by people who have a lot of other things on their plate, but somehow they rally around this one cause. What other disease does this? Out of all of them. Only half of the population, less than 4% of men can have breast cancer, but let's just say only half of the population can have this, for the most part, okay? So I'm doing the math, and I'm just going, how do we rally around this disease out of all of them? When there's depression, there's mental disorders, there's all this other stuff, there's diabetes, there's stroke, there's heart attacks, there's all kinds of crazy stuff. So I'm sitting there, I'm just contemplating all of this. And what comes over the loudspeaker on the plane is, and the table tents at restaurants, everything, flyers selling pink lemonades and stuff like that. And over the loudspeaker I hear, ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to let you know that we are serving pink lemonade and pink vodka to support Breast Cancer Awareness Foundation, and blah, da, 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 da. And if you'd like to purchase, it's card only. This is a no-cash airline, blah, 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 da, da, da. And I'm just sitting there going, pink lemonade, sugar, and pink vodka, sugar, both of them. Thought, you've got to be kidding me. And where's all that money going to go? I don't know. Who knows? You thought I was going to tell you. No, sir, not me. But the flight, the plane, all of that stuff, that was in one weekend. And how did we rally around this one disease that only half the population can really have, that only a fraction of that population, half that population really gets? And look at how much money and time and energy is focused around that. And have we come any farther in the last 5, 10, 15, 20 years? I'm going to tell you why. Right here. Where is it? I've got so much on this, it's ridiculous. All right. And how many of you have ever heard of Zeneca? Like AstraZeneca, yeah? They are the sole, I did some looking into this a while back. This was about 6 months ago. They are the sole multi-million-dollar funder. I wanted to figure out who funded all this. Who figured this out? Zeneca is the sole multi-million-dollar funder of National Breast Cancer Awareness Month since 1984. 34 years coming up. They are also, if you look at how this goes together, the sole manufacturer of tamoxifen. What is that? Anybody know what that is? Isn't that crazy? Tamoxifen, say it, Jody.
It's the drug that treats breast
the drug that treats breast cancer. Now that's a coincidence. They are also, and that's used to treat breast cancer, but that's also been found to cause cancer. Because why? Every drug is a known toxin. Every drug is a known toxin. If you take a bottle of aspirin all at once, will it kill you? Everybody knows yes. If you take a bottle of aspirin one at a time, will it kill you? A lot slower. But yeah, right? Why? Because every drug is a toxin. Every one of them. Remember that overdose thing? The liver? Size of your liver? How fast it can detox everything? That's why they tell you don't take this and this and this and this and this while you're drinking alcohol. Why? Alcohol slows down your liver metabolism. So if you slow down your liver metabolism and then crank a bunch of pills, guess what's going to happen? You're going to end up like everybody else that died of what? Pharmaceutical drugs. Let me just name a few for you. Michael Jackson, Prince, Whitney Houston, Kurt Cobain. The list goes on and on and on and on. Amy Winehouse, Elvis Presley. I mean, this started in the 60s. The number one killer is healthcare. How do I know? Because most of this practice, I treat other healthcare professionals who come here because they know this. Why doesn't everybody else get it? Oh, did I really?
You should.
Oh no!
What were you thinking?
I had no idea. Energizer Bunny just tore this battery up. Sure is. I'm immune though, because we got this immune system up here. Okay, and that's the thing too. You got to keep your immune system up here. So many people who've been doing what we tell them to do for a certain amount of time, they'll come in and they'll say, "Man, usually I get allergies in the summer. I haven't gotten allergies." Or usually I get the flu 2 or 3 times in the winter. I get colds. I haven't gotten. Can anything about what we're doing be changing that? What do you think my answer is? Yeah, because what are we doing? We're building up your body. We're building up the defenses of your body so nothing can get over that wall. Man, we're getting the sugar out, which we just talked about, 146 reasons why sugar is killing you. So if we can eliminate 146 reasons, you think your life expectancy is going to go up? Yeah. You think you're going to get healthier? You think your headaches and your depression might go away? Yeah. You think some of the drugs that you're on might be able to be decreased? You think you might be able to avoid that gallbladder surgery or that knee replacement? Yeah. And your energy will go up. Yeah, think about it. So I just want to read you a few more things here. So the American Cancer Society lists mammography, or I will say this. So mammography, let's just finish this. Mammogram. So we're radiating toxins under pressure. So you will eventually be diagnosed with what disease? Right. So this right here is your number one strategy in the United States to avoid what? Can't make this up. Say what? Oh, it's all a fear tactic. Everything in medicine is pretty much a fear tactic. Yeah. Cholesterol medicine, fear tactic. Blood pressure medicine, fear tactic. Right? So the other the big thing about cancer that we're talking about, cancer prevention. This is the best medicine can give you about cancer prevention. Think about this. You watch the news, they say it's going to be bright and sunny. Make sure if you take little Johnny to the beach, make sure you slather him with what? Sunscreen. Sunscreen. Made by who? Which is a subsidiary of what? Probably. Who knows? So, sun avoidance. Your number one deal in your body is to keep you healthy. It's so important that God himself put it in the sunshine. Vitamin D. God himself, through the ultraviolet radiation given off by the sun, hits your skin. Sorry, other room. So walk into your dermatologist's office and see how many people. It's flickering. It's a flickering battery pack. Sorry, other room. Can't be. Uh-oh. So walk into, sorry, batteries. I'm preaching through these batteries, I'm telling you. So,
You guys know it's good information.
the battery, yeah. The battery. Duracell from now on. That's right.
Now you said it.
So now you've got, instead of your body just getting regular vitamin D from the sun the way God intended, now you've got a toxic poison on your skin that is then getting hit by the radiation from the sun, which is then going to cause what? Cancer. So in the last few years, if you go to your dermatologist's office or your parents or whatever, go to your parents' dermatologist's office. I challenge you. Go. Just go check it out. And you will see a waiting room that looks like this room. Probably more people in it. They're getting scheduled for little biopsies. They're getting scheduled for, well, we're going to have to check that out. That looks precancerous. We're going to have to freeze it. We're going to have to heat it. We're going to have to microwave it. We're going to have to eat it. We're going to have to slice it. We're going to have to dice it. We're going to have to do whatever. Because what? Guess what? What else is precancerous? You're precancerous. Your baby is precancerous. That wall is precancerous. The air is precancerous. Everything, by that definition, can be called precancerous. Stupidity of this? Yes or no? Do you get the stupidity of this?
Yes.
Everything is precancerous. How do I know? Because if you have diabetes, but you don't have diabetes quite yet enough for it to be called diabetes, what are we going to call it? Prediabetes. Guess what? Who else is pre-diabetic? The entire stinking planet is pre-diabetic. Does that make sense? It's like saying you're pre-death. What? That's medicine? Think about this, folks. This is stupid. This is silly. Am I the first one telling you this? Probably not, but if I am, you're never going to forget my face, are you? No. So these are the two top things that medicine says will help you stay away from cancer. How silly is that? So sunscreens came out, skin cancer went through the roof. And it's been through the roof ever since. Crazy, huh? I know, it's crazy. I couldn't make it up. There's some stuff here about some stuff that we could cover, but I don't want to get into that stuff. ACS, American Cancer Society. We'll get into some other stuff. American Cancer Society, downtown Atlanta, straight across the street from none other than Coca-Cola. Is that a coincidence? Absolutely not. Have you ever been to downtown Atlanta? You've seen the American Cancer Society? Right across the street. Huh?
I've been to the Coca-Cola factory.
Oh, yeah. Right across the street from the American Cancer Society. Correct? Right across. You can see one from the other. It's crazy. Coincidence? No, not at all. But the ACS is sponsored by and gets funded by the mammography industry, the cancer drug industry, and the pesticide industry, because Breast Cancer Awareness Month, since they're promoting mammography, and the ACS is supported by the biotech industry, the cosmetics industry, the processed food industries. If the American Cancer Society is funded by the biotech industries, all the nanotechnology and all the drugs for specific situations based on your genome, those are coming out. Those are going to be coming out big time. If the ACS is sponsored and gets support from the cosmetics industry, what does that tell you about the cosmetics? It's all it needs to tell you. Huh? Toxins. If they're supported by the processed food industry, toxins, right? The industries who cause the cancer are the industries who are supporting the American Cancer Society. And they have a lot of money. Well, yeah, absolutely. So that's why the ACS never addresses environmental components, and they focus on what? You're never going to hear the American Cancer Society say, well, hey, we need you to stay away from antiperspirants, and we need you to stop slathering your thyroid with Victoria's Secret, and we need you to stop drinking fluoride in the water, and you got to get off the drugs. They don't say that. What do they blame cancer on? Say it loud. Genetics. That's a lie. How do you know? Well, because the kids with cancer wouldn't be here if the parents had cancer, would they? Right? Am I wrong? So the kids' cancer hospitals, why do the kids have cancer? Oh, I don't know. It couldn't have to do with the fact that they were on antibiotics for the first 9 months they were alive. Couldn't have anything to do with the fact that they're drinking Diet Coke and having Jell-O, like we just wrote up there, while they're in the hospital in the NICU, right? Couldn't have anything to do with the amalgam fillings or the tap water. Couldn't have anything to do with the fact that little Johnny, when he went to the beach finally, Mom did slather him with sunscreen, and they can't figure out what this cancerous lesion is on his face or his arm or whatever, right? Isn't this nuts? It's nuts. You can't make it up. But they're never going to address the environmental problems. The ACS will never come out and say, you know what, you shouldn't drink stuff out of plastic bottles. It's full of chemicals. You know, you shouldn't huff gas in the school parking lot. You shouldn't be eating paint. You know, they leave that to the EPA. You know, they come out and they say it's genetics. Why? Because when it's genetics, it's not my fault as a doctor for not being able to fix you. And it's not your fault for not changing your lifestyle. We'll just go ahead and blame it on this God that our system says doesn't even exist. It's genetics. It's his fault. Does that make sense? Wow. Whole tone in the room just got really sad. Well, what are we supposed to do? Great question. Who wants to know what you're supposed to do? Oh, one person. Well, thank you, sir, for paying attention. 3, 4, 5 people. Good. That's all we'll get into now. But actually, food, the water, I didn't get into the food and the water. I didn't get into the cosmetics. I didn't get into the air. There's really a whole lot of stuff. The soaps, the shampoos, the conditioners, all the stuff, the household cleaning supplies. There's a lot that we could cover, but we won't because there's already a ton of time. We're at 7:23. What are we supposed to do? Well, you can do this. Change your food, change your air, change your water. Those are some big ones, right? Everything that goes in and on your body, right? Food. What do I mean by that? Air. What do I mean by that? Water. Boom. Cosmetics. Chemicals. Right? Food. You want to eat as good a food as you can. I've got whole other classes that deal with that thing. If you become a patient here, you'll learn all about this. Air. What do I mean by that? If you think clouds are supposed to be straight, you need to... That's a whole different class. We'll talk about that later. Water. If you think fluoride is good for your teeth, well, you should look in your Cleveland water supply little thing that you get from Cleveland Utilities and figure out why they call it toxic runoff from pesticide and aluminum manufacturing factories, and then list it as a necessary additive for your teeth. Horrible idea. Chlorine, same deal. So food, air, water, you got to check into that. Cosmetics, that's another big one, especially for the ladies that are already dealing with the breast cancer thing. Who gets sick more, women or men? Women. Headaches, women or men? Thyroid problems, women or men? Diabetes, women or men? Women. Insomnia, women or men? Depression, women or men? Fibromyalgia, women or men? Chronic fatigue, women or men? How come every disease, women get more? Because you're blessed. God bless the womb of woman. Huh? Yeah.
We have more chemical within any of them.
Part of it. It's part of it. That's part of it, yeah. But women have all the diseases, the prevalence, but then they live longer than the men. So it has a lot to do with hormones. It has a lot to do with the way that God designed the roles to be from young couple to married couple to older couple. Just go and see, when a married couple is young and they're newlyweds, who's leading who around at the mall? And then when they turn old and they're white-haired, who's leading who around now? Right? Think about that. So those roles change. But the cosmetics and the cleaning supplies are pretty much encountered by females, right? For the most part. Females are also responsible for most of the food, most of the rearing of the young, most of the breastfeeding. Most. It is that time and day in the age where you don't quite know what is going on over there. The breastfeeding and the rearing of the young. So we're dealing with a lot of stuff there as far as women go. Well, how do you fix it though? Okay, we've already determined how do you fix it. Well, first of all, you got to know a doctor of the future, right? And I am a doctor of the future because guess what? Thomas Edison said back 100-something years ago, the doctor of the future will prescribe no medicines, but he will educate the patient in the proper form and function of the body via food. This is Thomas Edison. He was a smart dude. How many of you know him? Smart dude. Yeah. You knew him personally?
We go way back.
Oh, we go way back. So what do? Well, we do big structures, small structures. We do bad stuff out, and then we do good stuff in. What do I mean by that? Well, I'll tell you. We adjust the big structures. Like I said, chiropractic is one of many things that we do. So chiropractic, yes, I'm a chiropractic physician. Chiropractic physicians are primary care portal of entry physicians. Most of you don't know that. Most of you are just told that you're It's neck pain, back pain, headache. Most of you are just told that, well, my insurance only covers, 12 visits a year, so apparently Blue Cross Blue Shield had a crystal ball plugged in that knew that I was going to only need 12 visits. But if it came down to chemotherapy or radiation, they'd be signing you up for 36 out of the gate. Some of you. Big structures, what do I mean by that? When we stimulate, this is not about popping your back. This is not about cracking your neck. You have been told that. This is about adjusting your whole body. Shoulders, elbows, wrists, hands, hips, knees, ankles, toes. Neck, thoracics, low back, SI joints, everything. You can move the skull, the bones in somebody's skull. Somebody's got sinus problems, you think that might help them? Sure. So when we move the big structures, what else, when we move the bones, what else do we move? Organs. You move the muscles, you move the tendons, you move the ligaments, you move the arteries and the veins and the nerves and the lymph nodes that are attached to all of it. If I adjust somebody's elbow or their hands, guess what I've just moved? All of that. You don't just move their bones. The bones are just the structure that everything's attached to. So when you adjust somebody's neck and their hearing comes back online, or you adjust their neck and their voice, they've lost their voice for months and their voice comes back, which happens, or you adjust their thoracics and their heart murmur and their palpitations go away, guess what? All those nerves coming out of their spine feed what? All the other nerves in their body. So it has nothing to do with neck pain. It has nothing to do with back pain. It has very little to do with any of that. It has to do with you are adjusting the big structures of the body. So we call that chiropractic. We do the small structures of the body. How do we do that? We do the microscopic structures of your body, your very DNA, the mitochondria in your cell. We use laser, cold laser, which is the same wavelength of light that is generated by this device is the very wavelength of your DNA. How many of you know what this is? If you've watched Forensic Files, Cold Case Files, and any other DNA, right? It's a double helix. Well, God spoke us into existence, because if you haven't figured it out by now, this place believes in God and the Bible and everything else. So when God spoke us into existence, right? It looks like a sound wave, doesn't it? Okay, so we just take that wavelength from here to here, measure it, and we do laser. Laser is the same wavelength as your DNA. What does that mean? It means the laser is the opera singer and the cells are the wine glass. So the laser hits a certain frequency, and the cells being hit by the photons of light, which are the smallest particles known to man, hits your DNA and causes that DNA to produce the proteins that your body needs to heal that tissue, whether it's a heart, whether it's a brain, whether it's a ligament, bone, or muscle. So that's chiropractic. So like I said, that's chiropractic. This is laser. Okay? The bad stuff out. What do we mean? Detoxification. People ask me, why don't you take insurance? Well, insurance will pay for this, but it won't pay for anything else we do. And guess what? Everything else we do is a much bigger deal, right? Detox, bad stuff out. What do we mean by that? Ionic detoxification, we can do that. Or we have a new service that's called an infrared sauna therapy. Anybody know infrared saunas? Yes, we just got one of those running about 2 weeks ago, maybe last week. And I'm actually running a special tonight. If anybody wants to do a package sign up of infrared sauna therapy, we're doing like 10% off for those. If you need to know more about it, ask Sarah, ask Hannah, ask me. But so detox, we can do that. We can do sauna. What does that mean? That means, geez, that was horrible. Good grief. Sauna. Sauna. So detox, we get the bad stuff out. That means we do ionic detox, feet, or we do sauna, full body. Good stuff in. That means nutrition. You cannot fix someone ethically, morally, or any other way without fixing their nutrition. Not today. Not when you're eating GMOs, you're drinking fluoride, you're drinking chemicals, you're putting stuff on your body, in your body. We already covered the sunscreen thing, and that's just a minuscule part of what most people put on their bodies, right? So we do the four legs of the table. You got a table like this, right? We do the 4 legs of it. That table, if there's only 3 legs, might stay good for a little while. If there's only 2 legs, it ain't going to stay good very long at all. If it's got 1 leg, you're really hosed. So that 4 legs of the table, it means that it's very stable. That means we've got chiropractic, we've got laser, we've got detox, we've got nutrition. So when we're hitting all 4 of those things at once, the chances of you not getting better is 0. I'll say it again. The chances of you not getting better are 0. If you have ever been a patient here, no harm, no foul, I don't care, be honest. If you've ever been a patient here, raise your hand. Raise them high. Come on, raise them high. Now, if you did not get better, keep your hands up. Keep your hands up, please. Raise your hands. Now, if you did not get better, put your hands. If you did not get better, keep your hand up. Put your hands down. Wait a minute, I said that wrong. Put your hand down if you got better. Jeez, I almost really hosed myself. Oh, jeez. But you get the point. There is 0 possibility that you will not get better. All you have to do is do what we tell you to do as long as we tell you to do it. Some people are really sick. They'll come in, they're on 15 meds, they're missing 4 organs, they've had double bypass surgery, they've got both knees replaced. They're going to be very different than a 25-year-old that just fell and hurt their knee and has some digestive problems. They're going to be very different. So everything is designed, clinical nutrition, to be absolutely tailored to that person. So that's how we fix it. And along the treatment plan that you start, you will learn, you will read, we will have handouts. People say, well, what do I eat for breakfast? Read this. Well, what do I do about this? Read this. What do I do about that? Read this. Well, and we'll have you watch documentaries. We'll turn you on to stuff like this. Remember when we talked about this? Top doctors in the world? What other doctor's office is going to show you this? What other doctor's office is going to spend years, days, months, and weeks traveling to all ends of the country to figure out, okay, what do we got to do for this? How do we beat this? That's what we do. So that being said, all 4 of these legs on this table are very stable. Chiropractic, laser, detox, sauna, nutrition. That's how you fix it. You teach people long term. Doctor means teacher, not prescriber. In America, you've been taught that doctor means he who prescribes. But doctor is really the doctor of the future. He will educate his patients in the care of the human frame, will give no drugs, and will prescribe nutrition. That's it. Seneca, 2,000 years before Jesus, said, look to the spine. Hippocrates and Seneca, actually, said, look to the spine for the cause of all disease. Digestion is the gut is the beginning of all disease. What is science now saying? The gut is the beginning and end of all disease. In other words, what are they saying? You are what you eat. Yeah, because your immune system is 80% of your immune system is in your gut. So when somebody goes and gets their bowel resected, guess what happens? Their immune system goes down, predisposing them to what did we just talk about? Right there. Does that make sense? So all 4 of these things, once you learn how all this stuff works, you change your nutrition. I don't even care. You don't even have to change your whole diet. Just give me your breakfast. Give me your breakfast. Give me your breakfast. I'll change your life. I'll change your life. That's all you got to do. 1/3 of your diet, we will change your breakfast, and 1/3 of your life will change. Guaranteed.
It's a great breakfast.
It's a great breakfast. Absolutely. I'm not cooking it for you. I will teach you how to do it. But the nutrition, getting the good stuff in with the nutrition, getting the bad stuff out. How many of you know people who go in and they have an infection, or they go in and they get a bunch of drugs? Okay, so now your body has to drain out the critters, the bad guys, but your body also has to take care of the antibiotic. Then your body also has to take care of the anesthetic and the muscle relaxer and the painkiller. So most of the time when you go into the hospital, you've already got a stressed out body. Now we're going to give you drugs to stress it out more. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. So what happens after that? Well, usually you feel like crap for a day or a week or a month because this has never happened. You never got the bad stuff out. That just makes sense, doesn't it? And then if we stimulate every single cell in your body, we turn your lights on and you see Jesus, that's great. I'm just going to tell you. You get adjusted. How many of you have never been adjusted? The oldest, never been adjusted? Goodness gracious. The oldest form of healing on planet Earth. The oldest form of healing on planet Earth by your insurance companies and your pharmaceutical companies has been relegated to neck pain, back pain, and headache. That's sick. If you are in this room and you've never been adjusted, if you have never experienced chiropractic care, get with the program because it's the future, I'm telling you. This all right here is stuff that you will never see in your medical clinic, in your oncology ward, in your Alzheimer's clinic. You will never see this. Chiropractic, oldest profession known to man. Oldest healing profession known to man. Right there. Okay, so any questions, comments, concerns? Questions about what we talked about? Any questions? Any questions on anything we talked about? I explained all of cancer? Wow, that was good. In an hour.
To
some things that, I've noticed that I'm very phobic about doctors and medical. I don't go. I don't do all the stuff that they tell you to do.
Right.
And I've noticed that it just seems like we're inundated everywhere. You can't turn on TV. You can't get on Facebook. And it's like, you may have this. You might have that.
Right.
These 3 symptoms will tell you if you've got that, or this 5 symptoms, or if you have this, you need to see your.
Right.
And it's fear, 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 fear.
Absolutely.
And then I have a lot of friends that go to the doctor quite a bit. And they're on a lot of medicine.
Right.
And they never get better. I don't understand that. I'm 55 right now. I'm not on any medicine, praise God, and I don't ever want to be.
Right.
But know so many people on blood pressure medicine and on cholesterol that I begin to ask myself, should I be going to get checked? Do I need to get it? Because everybody else is on it.
Right.
You're
not alone. You're talking to the whole room. Right. At some point. Right. So you're not alone, honey. So what was your question, really?
Well, I'm just going to say thank you.
Oh,
because it brought out a lot of what that I've suspected.
Right. Most people who come here already know a lot of this stuff. They just need somebody with a little bit more background, somebody with maybe it's a degree in front of their name or something, maybe just a DR in front of them, just to reiterate and confirm what your spirit's already telling you. I use this example. I have never once, ever, and I don't care what you think or what you know or whatever about any of this. I'm just telling you what I've heard and what I see and what I observe and what parents and what women have told me. Never once have I heard a woman tell me, I felt like the Lord was telling me I needed to vaccinate my kid. Never once, ever, in the years of doing this, have I ever heard anyone tell me, I felt like the Lord really wanted me to get that surgery, or that the Lord wanted me to take another drug. Never once have I ever heard that. But I have heard this many times. I was on my way to the pediatrician's office to get my kid vaccinated, and I had to pull over immediately because I knew something wasn't right. I've heard that dozens of times, but I have never once heard a mother say, God told me to get the kid vaccinated or to take a drug or to get a surgery. Never. There's a pattern there. There's a very important pattern. So all you're doing, darling, is you are listening to what you already know. You said, I don't want to be on a drug. You already know. The spirit in you knows that it's toxic poison. Now, the difference between those like you and the average American over 50 who's on 15 meds, the difference is a lot of them don't have that inner knowing. You follow me? And a lot of them are going to be pulled into that fear thing, thinking, well, they're in white coats, the doctors are gods, they do no wrong, it's a powerful industry, they have my best interests in mind, and now, a year down the road, they're on drug number 2, the dosage goes up, 2 years down, they're on drug number 3, and then before you know it, we're in the hospital, we're having a cardiac event, we don't know why, but probably because of the drug.
Well,
could be.
they've also created you a dependency.
And they've created a dependency. And you're all too willing to run into it because you're like, well, this natural stuff that this kid's telling me about, yeah, my insurance won't cover it, but I could go get a gastric bypass, and it's 80-20. It's ridiculous. So, or I can go get a mammogram every year, and they're free. It's crazy.
I went to an alternative doctor in Florida, and it's supposed to be alternative medicine. He insisted that I get a mammogram, and I made an appointment 6 times.
Unbelievable.
I canceled it 6 times because I didn't have any peace about it. And I
Right.
forget it, I'm not going to do it.
Right. Yeah, and I know. I hear that a lot. Alternative doctors recommending that let's put you on this drug and put you on this drug.
Well, they get paid for it,
Yeah. Right. Yeah. See you guys. Take care. Any other questions? Good observation, though, and you are not the only one. So all I'm doing here is reiterating what most of you already feel in your knower, in your spirit. You just need somebody to confirm it and tell you, hey, you're not crazy. You're not crazy at all. You're right on the money. You know more than you think you know. That's all. Yes, darling. I'm sorry?
This is going to be hard.
What's that? What's going to be hard?
I'm your over 60 on 17 pills. And it's been 25 years since I was healthy. My mother was a nurse. And I wasn't sick when I was a kid, except for the appendectomy when I was 10. It was an urgent situation. But in 1986,
She calls my name.